They're not on 3 calls, or I might. Port Stephens, a member for Port Stephens, please.
My question is to the Minister for the Environment. Why were you only made aware of contamination issues at Williamtown last month when the Environment Protection Authority was aware of these issues in 2012?
Thank you. I call the Minister for the Environment.
I think you got last week's questions mixed up.
Order. Minister for the
Thank you,
Environment.
Madam Speaker. Can I thank the member for Port Stephens for that question? I previously answered a question about the extent of my knowledge and involvement, and I have nothing to add to or detract from the answer I gave about my own knowledge. Can I reassure citizens across New South Wales and members of this House that everything we do with contaminated land has one purpose and one purpose only at the forefront, and that's public health and safety. Everything we do on contaminated land.
A Leader of the Opposition, it would help if you didn't interject.
Madam Speaker, the issues at Williamtown must be seen in this context. New South Wales Health has advised that the contaminants in question, PFOS and PFOA, it is unclear whether they cause adverse effects in human health. But on the current evidence, the potential for adverse human outcomes
You've asked the question.
cannot be excluded. New South Wales Health advises that studies of workers exposed to these chemicals haven't consistently shown adverse health effects, though impact on blood cholesterol levels, thyroid function and liver size have been reported in some studies. New South Wales Health advises that mothers exposed to high levels of PFOA in the drinking water did not have an increased risk of health birth defects in their children. There are approximately 30,000 chemicals in use across Australia, and for the vast majority of these, including PFOS and PFOA, very little is known about possible health effects in people. Studies in America have shown that almost everyone is exposed to low levels of PFOS and PFOA just by living in the modern world. Madam Speaker, I'm advised by the EPA that although it became aware in early 2013 of some contamination in surface water and drain sediments off-site near the RAAF Williamtown base, at the time no contamination had been detected in groundwater off-site. I'm further advised by the EPA that it appears that the EPA was not made aware of any further contamination off-site, for example in groundwater, until last month. The EPA advises me that in early 2013 it formed the view that given the extent of sampling to date, the risk of exposure to human health from detected surface water and drain sediments contamination is low and did not warrant immediate notification, although it did warrant further investigation. Madam Speaker, as I said at the start, public health and safety is at the forefront of any actions we take. And the second consideration is not only that that is at the forefront, but that the public have absolute confidence in our environmental regulation and that we are putting public health and safety at the forefront. That's why, as well as taking
you've asked your question, you don't get a second bite of the cherry.
a precautionary approach to a risk that has been identified as low, we have announced 2 reviews, external and independent reviews, into this matter. The first review will be led by the New South Wales Chief Scientist, Mary O'Kane, and that will advise the government on the planned and ongoing management of the Williamtown RAAF-based contamination. Under her leadership, the EPA, New South Wales Health, the Department of Primary Industries, New South Wales Food Authority, Hunter Water independent experts in contamination and public health will assess and confirm the nature of any potential risk of the contamination and what has to happen next. Today I've announced a second review, an independent external review by Professor Mark Taylor of Macquarie University, who will have a broader remit and will consider the EPA's implementation of the findings of the Auditor General's 2014 report into managing contaminated sites. The Auditor General's report found that the EPA's prioritisation and assessment of sites was inadequate and that its monitoring and management of significantly contaminated sites needs to improve. Since then, the EPA advises that it has implemented the majority of the Auditor General's report on time and will also be implementing the remaining recommendations on time. I've announced this second report so that we can independently verify the EPA's implementation of the Auditor General's recommendations and see whether there's further scope for improvement. The terms of reference include reviewing the EPA's implementation of those findings, making any recommendations deemed appropriate regarding the EPA's management of contaminated sites, providing an interim report with any recommendations deemed appropriate regarding the EPA's past management of the Williamtown RAAF base by 30 November, and and providing an interim report with any recommendations deemed appropriate regarding the EPA's past and future management of PFOS and PFOA contaminated sites, both known and unknown, by 31 January 2016. The EPA, I'm advised, will address questions regarding Williamtown RLF-based contamination at a public meeting organised by the Department of Defence at 6 o'clock tonight at Stockton RSL.
Thank you. I call the member for